what you're talking about is fully being present in that decision, in that choice, and bringing it to life and making it happen for yourself. You can't just talk about it. You have to actually do it.
Welcome to Scale Smarter, where we dive into the world of business and explore practical tips and inspiring stories to help you scale your company without scaling your headcount.
Welcome everyone to another episode of the Scale Smarter podcast, where today I'm excited to be chatting to Cindy, an expert coach on all things mindset, goal setting, and the power of intention. I've experienced firsthand what a huge impact having a strong mindset and clear goals can have both in life and in growing my business. And today Cindy is going to be unpacking a range of techniques that you can use to help you do the same. Cindy's journey started at the age of 15, learning and applying these principles in her own life to begin with, which evolved into decades of experience to distill and share with the rest of you. So welcome to the podcast, Cindy.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, it's great to have you here. I'm very excited on the topic we're going to talk about today, because I think it's one of those topics that sometimes people shy away from a little bit. And I think there's a lot that we can unpack and share with everyone on really how to leverage what you do to improve their life and business. So I know one thing we're going to be talking about a lot today is around the power of intention. And so maybe you could start by just introducing that concept a little bit and why it's so crucial in life.
So having the power of intention really creates for you the clarity that you need to have in your life what you want to have. If you're kind of wandering through life and you don't know where you want to be or what you want to achieve with clear intentions and working towards that, how will you get where you're supposed to be? How will you get where you want to be? And so having that intention and having that clarity is very powerful in terms of accomplishing the goals of your life and what you want to be and who you are and being true to who you are as an authentic person.
That's a great kind of point I want to touch on, because something we've talked about a lot is this concept of your authentic self, or being authentic to yourself. And so I know that's also another concept that people may be not that familiar with. So maybe, define that for us a little bit as well. You know, what does it mean to be authentic to yourself, and why is that important?
That's such a big question. It's important for a lot of reasons. A lot of us, myself included at times, right? I'm not alone. Being strategically authentic is really important in this world, because we lose sight of who we are if we're not thinking about it. And we go and we take actions and we do things in life based on how we feel without ever checking in to see what that root belief is we're pulling from, and challenging that to see, is that authentically who we are? And so really getting to know yourself, really getting to check in with yourself, really exploring yourself and finding out what that authenticity is for you is very powerful and can help with setting those intentions to be successful.
Yeah. And I know, something we chatted about previously was around, you mentioned that there's a real domino effect with all of this, right? Mm-hmm. Between intention, clarity, self-awareness. So can you break that down a little bit for us? Like what kind of impact that does have on your personal and professional growth?
Well, just imagine this. If you are going through this world, living your life based on the expectations of society or the expectations of your family or your coworkers or your friends or whatever that might be, you're not really living to your potential. You're living for them. And all of this rolls in together. So first, the self-discovery, so that you can find out, really who you are. And maybe you're supposed to be a cook because you're a mother, but maybe you don't like to cook. Could be all kinds of different things. Finding that person, then getting clarity about who you really are and what you want to achieve, setting that powerful intention, kind of like we talked about, and then being strategically authentic where you're not burning bridges, right? It comes down to, how do you communicate that? How do you navigate coming full circle and showing up in life as your true authentic self, rather than hiding behind what society thinks you should be?
Yeah, that's such an important topic. I really think, you really nailed it there. I think we all do, right? We're all influenced by others. We're kind of swayed by their expectation of what our life is going to be sometimes. And so you talked about, it's not just a case of necessarily cutting those ties completely, burning those bridges, right? That's how do you still be authentic to yourself, to your goals in life and business, and still maintain those relationships?
It's a challenge, I'll be honest. And this is where I really get excited. I enjoy helping people navigate navigate this, because each situation is different.
Yeah.
And every time something comes up, I have this system that I wrote. I call it SOAR, but it helps to make decisions on how and when to show up authentically without losing ground, without losing relationships, keeping others in mind when you're doing it, how to navigate that. I love working with people like that. This is something for me that comes from my heart, from years and years of experience of trying to get there. Never felt like I belonged, finally figured it out, and I want to help others do the same.
That's cool. And I think SOAR is something we're going to be talking a lot about today. I really want to highlight that because it's a really unique system that you've built out. And I think particularly tackling a topic like this, sometimes it feels like there's so much information out there that how do you bring it all into a framework that actually is something that you can follow and implement in your life to try and make sense of all of these different topics. So maybe at a high level, we'll unpack it more as we go along today, but at a high level, maybe explain for us what is SOAR?
I'd be happy to, on a high level for sure. SOAR actually stands for self, others, action, and reflection. So the idea in general is really to check in with yourself first and how what is happening is affecting you, how you feel about it, how does it align with your belief system, how important is it to you. Then you think about others from a couple different perspectives. How does what's occurring affect others? If you decide that it's something that you need to have a voice around, how would others respond to that voice? How best to approach having that voice for others to be capable of aligning with what you're saying to them. And then we get into the action of actually doing that, right? And then, of course, reflection. It's not always going to be perfect. It's a growth road. And so you have to look back and say, could I have done something better? Maybe my timing could have been better. Maybe I talked to the wrong people or not enough of the right people. It could be a business thing. It could be a personal thing. This covers all situations. So that's kind of the high level of SOAR, and it kind of a step process, if you will, to making decisions around what you're going to do.
Yeah, and it's so true. I know SOAR applies to both personal development and it applies to business development as well. But I think you touched on something there. You mentioned checking in with yourself. And once again, that's something, that was kind of a new concept that I learned, even from our interactions together. And so how do you check in with yourself to ensure, that you're kind of aligned with your actual intentions and you're not just kind of reacting to external expectations?
I think everybody may approach it slightly different, but the basics are don't react too quickly. Stop, give yourself a chance to really think about it and identify how you feel, why you feel that way, what belief it's tied to for you, and then really how affected are you by it? How important is it to you? I know that when I go through this a lot of times, and I use this system every day, every challenge or every situation that comes up, I'm always applying this. And I look at it for myself. I'm kind of a protector in nature. And so I really look at how is this going to affect somebody else? A lot of times that's part of my belief system. That's part of who I am, right? That's authentic to me, is to look out for others. And so that's part of one of the things that I reflect on when I'm checking in with myself, right? Is this person or people, in some cases, being affected in a way that I feel motivated and inclined to step forward? It's just everybody's a little bit different. You have to be really clear on who you are first. The self-awareness, the self-discovery is key.
Yeah, and I guess those people, we're surrounded by so many different people, right? It could be work colleagues, could be family, could be friends, could be staff that work for you. There's so many different people that we interact with every day. And I think something you touched on there around that, not having necessarily that immediate gut reaction. I've had to learn myself as well. Sometimes you got to just take a step back and assess the situation first, right?
So one of the things that I go over in my series, my workshop series that I do, is centered around the cycle of belief to thought to feeling to action, right? And oftentimes what happens is we get kind of into this autopilot place where we do have the thought, but we don't really pay much attention to it. We don't look at our beliefs. We just react out of how we feel. And that can be tricky because it may not always really truly align with a belief that is realistic for you. Sometimes we have to look at these beliefs and find out, is this a belief that someone put on me or is this truly my belief? And when we automatically react to something, we're not taking that time to really go through that whole process. And that makes a big difference.
Yeah. And that's like, beliefs is, once again, it's one of those topics that I think, particularly in business, like we don't talk enough about, right? Like there are so many things that can affect your decisions around how you interact with people, how you interact with your business, how you interact with your clients. And those could come from base beliefs that aren't really yours necessarily, right? And so I'm interested, like with the clients that you work with, how do you help them understand those kind of base beliefs and where they've come from and sort of uncover and articulate them for themselves?
It's a lot of interaction. And as a certified life coach, really all the answers lie within you. So my job is to help you discover them for yourself by asking you the questions that you need to hear in order to go within and find those places. So my goal is really just to support you, to shepherd the process, to guide you along the journey and help you be self-sustaining. It's not one of those things for me where I want you to always have to come back and count on me to be able to do these things. You need to be able to do them for yourself. And my goal is to teach you how to do that.
And do you find like the environment that you're in can play a big role in all of these things as well, right? Like very different being able to kind of set these goals for yourself or set these beliefs for yourself in one environment with a certain group of people and then go to a completely different environment and still maintain those same beliefs. So how do you find that sort of environment aspect plays into the whole belief system?
It's interesting that you asked that, because what actually happens is myself, others, you start to step into your authentic self where you have the least resistance in doing that. But the more you do that, the more it becomes a part of who you are and almost a second nature. And it just starts to happen in every place. So, you might have very different environments, but gradually over time and with dedication and again, powerful intentions, you can find that place and become that person where it just is. It's not a matter of, choosing to do it anymore. It just is. And that's where we want to be, really.
Yeah. I guess at that point is when you're really, truly being authentic to yourself, just the way you are. And I know like something we touched on, and this applies once again, business and in life, there's obviously no shortage of challenges in day-to-day life. And we got to bring all these beliefs and everything into how we approach them. But something, I've noticed, particularly as I work with, when I meet with new clients, they often describe the symptoms that they're experiencing rather than the root cause of, what's leading to that particular pain, challenge, whatever it may be. And so do you have sort of a particular process that you like to follow to help people dig in and find that kind of root cause as opposed to just focusing on the symptoms?
Well, again, like I was saying before, I follow them. They lead the way. And I honestly believe that when people are ready to find it, they'll find it. And I'm there to help them get there. So it's not uncommon for people to start at the surface and peel away at it. And some people are faster at it. Some people have more layers than other. It just depends. It's not a one size fits all, which is what makes it so much fun for me, right?
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of continuing to help them look at what their goals are, define who they are, explore who they are, right? Explore why they are or think they are who they are, right? Just asking those questions that empower them to dig deeper and look closer and know that they're not alone in that process. That's the important part, right? Is to be supportive and make sure that they're getting what they need and they're finding the value within themselves. Because that's key, right? If you don't believe in yourself, you're going to just kind of tread water, right? So that's a big part of it for me.
Yeah. And one thing that we've discussed previously is this kind of concept of showing up. And so in terms of what you just described, is that what we refer to as showing up?
I describe showing up as being in the moment, being fully in the moment, not being there with your mind somewhere else or being there and falling asleep. I look at the whole self in my coaching, and the whole self consists of the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. And physically, you can be affected by a lack of sleep or a cold. Maybe you're not there. So showing up to me emotionally, maybe you got into an argument with a spouse or a family member, and your energy is on the lower end of energy levels as they go. So you would not maybe be there fully and present fully. And so showing up for me is being fully there, being fully engaged, being fully involved in the content, what's happening, what's around you. And people struggle with that. You can physically be in a lot of places. And I would say a good portion of the time we might be there, but we're not really there. So that's what showing up is.
That's such a great point, and it's something I've experienced firsthand. A lot of people that follow this podcast, business owners, founders, entrepreneurs, and I've struggled when you got a young family trying to be present when there's some like fire going on in the business, or there's some like grumpy customer, or the sales dipped this month. There's so many things that can take your mind away, and then you end up like having like that family time, and you get to the end of it and you don't feel like you actually had family time. You were off in your mind somewhere while the kids were playing, kind of thing. And that for me has been something, I've had to work on very hard. I think I continuously work on it. I wouldn't say it's something I've mastered. I don't know if you ever master it. I totally appreciate the concept of showing up and being present in the actual moment that you're experiencing then and there, right?
Yeah. And if you want to take that and you want to apply it to, setting goals or creating a powerful intention or working through the SOAR program or self-discovery, any of that sort of thing, what you're talking about is fully being present in that decision and that choice and bringing it to life and making it happen for yourself. You can't just talk about it. You have to actually do it and be involved and be thoughtful about how you're showing up to do those things.
Absolutely. On that note, I'd like to change gears for a moment because, so much of this has come from your own experiences in life, right? And so reflecting on your journey, how has the past kind of helped shape, not only who you are today, but all these kind of key lessons that you've obviously learnt yourself and developed into the SOAR program and a number of these other, workshops and things that you help your clients with?
Oh, that's a big question. As you mentioned in the opening, I was out on my own at 15. And without getting into all the reasons why, what that did was it created a lot of challenges for me in my life. Challenges that I probably would not have had things been different. And those challenges were really gifts for me in the long run. And I came to find the gifts in those, using them to look at who I was, how it was affecting me, how I was participating in it or creating it for myself in some cases, right? And it just gave me all kinds of opportunities to explore who I was, why I was the way I was. Did I want to stay that way? Did I want something different? How do I go get it? And the types of challenges that I went through were so varied, right? It wasn't just the same challenge over and over again. It was this challenge over here and then this challenge over there. There was a time where I thought my kids and I would be homeless. Working through those things, buttoning down, doing what you have to do, finding your way through them. I've had enough of them now that it's led me to here, and along the way, I've picked up tools that I want to use to help someone else. And that's where my passion really lies, is just to help other people. I want to have value for all that I went through, to take those experiences and to take those challenges and those lessons that came from those challenges and turn them into a value by passing them on, the lessons that I've learned. And so that's what's prompted me to write SOAR. That's what's prompted me to go out and acquire a lot of the certifications that I have. They're kind of tools in the tool belt for me. All my life, women have been asking me questions about how do you do this? How do I do that? And I really want to help. So that's why.
Yeah, that's a great answer. And I think such an amazing kind of story of personal growth and evolution. We were talking just before this, like a new certification that you just added to your tool belt around group coaching, I believe, right? And so, I'm keen to kind of expand on that a little bit and talk us through a little bit more in terms of where you're going with all of this. I know you sort of touched on it there already, but, I think there's so much that you are offering to people in this space. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your plans and where you're going with all of this.
Okay. My plans are really just to be authentically me and wherever that takes me. I know that doesn't sound very intentful, but it really is. My intentions are to always, check in and make sure that what I'm doing and how I'm doing it is the best that I can do for the people that I want to help. And one of the couple things that I'm working on right now, the first is a series. It's a 10-session series right now that I'm piloting with a group of lovely women. We're pioneering it together, and they're helping me make it better and giving me feedback and whatnot. And it starts off with reflecting on your current life challenges and where you are as it relates to finances, as it relates to family, as it relates to social and well-being. And then really looking at what our fears are and what our strengths are, and kind of setting that foundation so that we can move into really acquiring your fullest potential. So that's my goal with this session. The next session would be beliefs and thoughts and emotions and actions. And then we get into the SOAR system. So really about self-discovery, self-awareness, and then how do you take that awareness and leverage it in your life for success? That's my dream project. That's the thing for me that I've wanted to do maybe 20 years now. And working to be authentic has helped me to bring that to life. And I'm really excited about it. The other thing that I'm working on that's coming up is a mobile app, really, to take a lot of this information and make it accessible and easy for people to get to so that they can go and they can look at this, read it, watch it, study it, and do it again if they need to, connect with me if they need to. There's just so many things, and then there's the leadership assessments that really looks at how do you show up in life? What's your attitude? What's your energy level? Are you coming into life or coming into a situation maybe from a victim standpoint? What's the pros and cons of that? Because there's no wrong energy, but if you're not aware of what energies you have, your energy signature, which is like your thumbprint, then you're not making those choices with intention, right? You're just showing up in whatever mood or whatever energy space you're in. The more you understand those for yourself and your self-perceptions of yourself, you can make those choices to show up in a specific way. So those are all things that are coming right now, and that's what I'm really looking forward to. I want to get women together. I hope to someday in the near future even do a women's retreat so we can get together and support each other.
I love it. That's awesome. And, I really want to highlight what you said there, because I think, this is a broad generalization, and I know your focus is on working with women, but I think from the male perspective, a lot of what you talked about there are things that we typically shy away from talking about, right? Like, it's not manly to talk about these kind of things, and like, it's really old school style of thinking. But particularly if you are like a business owner, or even just trying to grow your career, your entire business, career, etc., whether you want to admit it or not, like, there are aspects of your family, your friends, your faith, just your day-to-day life that massively impact your performance. And if you are not in a position where you really understand like your root beliefs and why you're doing what you're doing, or even like you've talked about techniques like SOAR on how to actually uncover these things and then implement and reflect, without a doubt it will be having an impact on multiple aspects of your life. And so I think in terms of what you're doing, I think it's going to open the doors for a lot of people to uncover a lot of things that they didn't know about themselves, which is super cool.
I am really thrilled, honestly, that men are starting to reach out and look at these things and to embrace that part of themselves. And I'm here to support that 100%. So don't take that wrong. I'm not just for women, but I am definitely here for everybody.
Yeah, no, I totally get it. And I think at times having programs that are sort of tailored to one type of person versus the other can be extremely beneficial. So I'm sure once the kind of women's retreat version that you've created now is out the way, there'll be lots of learnings to apply to either a combined version or a men's only version maybe as well.
Yeah, you never know. Like, I have a lot of friends in this industry that we work together, and some of them are men, some of them are women. Like I said, I just try to stay authentic to who I am. And if anybody's looking for help out there, I want to be there, regardless of who they are, where they come from, or any of that.
Yeah. And on that point, like, if people do want to get in touch with you, what's kind of the best way for them to reach out?
Well, they can always text me on my cell. I'm all fine with that. It's what I have it for. It's 505-280-6514, or they can email me at cindy@talktocindy.org, or they can go to my website and set up a discovery call. There's lots of ways to get a hold of me. I'm not hiding.
We'll include all of those in the description of the podcast as well. So anybody who wants to reach out to Cindy, you got lots of different options there. And I highly recommend that you do, particularly, if this is all resonating with you, because as I say, it can have a lot of impacts throughout multiple aspects of your life. As we we wrap up here, if there was one bit of advice that you could give to someone sitting there now struggling with sort of how to really be authentic to themselves, how to show up, how to be present, what would that piece of advice be?
Reach out. And I say that because I spent a lot of my challenges led me to a place of feeling like I was alone and that I didn't belong anywhere. And my goal is for you to know that you do belong and that you're not alone. And unless you reach out and accept that you are wanted and that you do have value, you're going to stay in the place that you're in. And I really don't want to see that happen.
Very authentic.
You know, I am who I am.
Yeah, very cool. We've covered a lot of different topics there. I know a lot of them we've sort of just barely scratched the surface of all of your experience and of all of the techniques and things that people can do to grow themselves in these areas. So thanks so much, Cindy. I really appreciate your time today. And yeah, I definitely highly encourage anybody that is looking for ways to improve their life in general, really. Reach out to Cindy, whether you're a business owner, whether it's about improving your career or whether it's just about improving your life in general and the way that you show up, as we've talked about today. Reach out to Cindy and you won't be disappointed. So thanks again, Cindy, so much for everything today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much for the time.
Thanks to all the audience today. And as usual,